Knocking someone out cold may be the nicest way of beating them because it's painless, but body shots are not for the faint of heart. They are excruciatingly painful and often leave recipients begging their opponents for mercy. So if you love violence to the core, this video is exactly what you need to fulfill your appetite. Here are the most shocking liver shot knockouts in MMA history. Fabricio Andrade versus Jeremy Pacquiao. Fabricio Andrade is the scariest bantamweight prospect outside of the UFC. Kickboxing ace is 9-2 in mixed martial arts and competes in the ONE Championship, where he most recently smashed UFC veteran John Lineker to win the ONE Bantamweight title. Now, if you want your casual friends to turn into hardcore MMA fans, you have got to show them this guy, especially his crushing body strikes, which sent a tough cookie in Jeremy packing at ONE full circle. The fight between the two young stars lasted only a minute and a half, and the Brazilian attacked the Filipino slugger's body throughout. Jeremy, being the heavy-handed fighter that he is, relied more on his boxing, but he failed to find Andrade's chin due to the Brazilian's educated distance management. At 1 minute and 35 seconds of the first round, Jeremy came forward with a big body punch, but before he could connect, Andrade's knee met his liver, and that was that.
Body shot, Pacquiao gets caught.
Xiang versus Angela Lee. And another ONE Championship barnbuster featuring two of the biggest stars in Asian MMA, Angela Lee took on China's heavy-handed punching panda, Xiang, and she got served humble pie. The first of the three fights between Lee and Nan took place at ONE, a new era in Tokyo, Japan, and it was for the ONE strawweight world title. Now, Lee, being the world-class grappler that she is, relied more on her strength and wouldn't even secure takedowns throughout the fight, putting Xiang in really tough positions. But the Chinese sensation would escape every time, get back up to her feet, and punish Lee with her punches in bunches. Jing's bodywork was exceptional in that fight, and it paid dividends. Half a minute before the end of the fifth and final round, Jing hurt Lee with a brutal punch to the liver and swarmed her with body kicks and punches to the head and body from all sorts of angles to stop the unstoppable.
Guts of the Bantamweight champion, and the right hand,
Warlley Alves versus Mounir Lazzez. Warlley Alves is one of those talented guys who simply couldn't reach his potential in the UFC, but he still has moments he'd cherish for the rest of his life, like his stoppage win against Mounir Lazzez. Heading into the fight against Lazzez, Alves had a loss to Randy Brown, and he needed to bounce back in a big way to prove to the rest of the guys in the division that he wasn't done yet. At UFC Fight Island 8, the Brazilian's thunderous strikes were heard around the world. As soon as the fight started, Alves wasted no time and went at Lazzez, immediately forcing a clinch and landing some heavy blows with his opponent trapped against the cage. He then secured a takedown, but not for long. However, as soon as the two stood up, Alves unleashed nasty combinations, including 3 consecutive body kicks that made Lazzez crash onto the floor while screaming in agony, forcing the referee to stop the fight.
To the center, he can push away and get the bait right there.
Nice kicks there.
Kick.
What happened there?
Body shot.
Jon Jones versus Mauricio Rua. In his early years in the UFC, Jon Bones Jones was a legend killer, and his rise as the greatest fighter of all time started when he thrashed Mauricio Shogun Rua to win the light heavyweight title at UFC 128. The fight was one-way traffic from start to finish, with Jones using his wrestling throughout to batter the UFC legend. In the first round, he dominated Rua in wrestling and badly hurt him on the feet with a huge knee in the final minute of the fight. But Bones was in no hurry to finish off his foe. The second round was much of the same, with Rua being the nail and Jones being the hammer. By the end of the second frame, Rua's movement became more labored and he had nothing left in his gas tank, which is why he got his face battered with huge elbows that Jones landed from the top position. Rua managed to get back up to his feet, but he was badly hurt by that point and backpedaled until he stood up against the cage. Jones followed him with a crushing left hook to the liver that put an end to the Brazilian's title reign.
To the body, and it is all over!
Alistair Overeem versus Brock Lesnar. Pre-USADA, Alistair Overeem was a freak of nature thanks to horse meat, or as it's known medically, testosterone replacement therapy. And he gave Brock Lesnar a taste of his Thor-like power when they faced off at UFC 141. Back then, Lesnar was one of the biggest stars in mixed martial arts, and when Overeem got a call from Dana White to fight him, he grabbed the opportunity with both hands. It was an intriguing clash of styles, and Overeem had a relatively lengthy feeling out process, staying away from Lesnar's takedown range for the first minute or so. The fight got a little more interesting in the second minute, where the two got caught up in the clinch twice, and Overeem brutalized Lesnar with knees. Nearly half a dozen knees later, Reem would ruin Lesnar's liver with a thunderous body kick that folded the beast incarnate. But Mario Yamasaki allowed Overeem to do more damage just to be sure.
The kick to the body. So much punishment to the body.
Anderson Silva versus Stephan Bonnar. Apart from dominating legends of the sport at middleweight for years, Anderson Silva also moved up to light heavyweight every now and then to show the fight world just how bloody good he was. After putting his rivalry with Chael Sonnen to bed decisively, Silva moved up to the 205-pound division to fight Stephan Bonnar at UFC 153. Bonnar's game plan was pretty similar to Sonnen's. He resorted to wrestling immediately and kept holding Silva against the cage for a few minutes until the Brazilian would reverse positions and break away. But instead of running towards the center of the octagon, Silva stayed against the cage and brazenly invited Bonnar to punch him in the punch. Bonnar obliged, but Silva dealt with his strikes effortlessly before putting him off balance with a leg trip and viciously finishing him off with a brutal knee to the liver as Bonnar tried getting back up to his feet. Brandon Moreno versus Kai Kara France. Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo had made the flyweight division a two-horse race for nearly 3 years, 2020 to 2022, until Kai Kara France came in as a breath of fresh air and faced the Mexican for the interim title in the absence of the Brazilian. The fight got off to a rather slow start, with both men spending most of the first round trying to get a feel of things. But things took an exciting turn in the second round, with Moreno landing a few clean boxing combinations and Kai Kara France firing back with leg kicks. The third round was absolutely crazy, with Moreno now fighting in fifth gear, attacking his foe with one shot after another. And while the New Zealander had success in the boxing range as well, Moreno's output was simply too much, and the Mexican folded him with a crushing kick to the liver seconds before the end of the third round to solidify his place as the UFC's interim flyweight champ. Mirko Cro Cop versus Overeem Magomedov. Mirko Cro Cop was a machine back in his heyday, and his kicks would give nightmares to even the best fighters in the game. While hardly one of the best ones, Russian's Magomedov was a decent test for Cro Cop. But despite having the GOAT Fedor Emelianenko in his corner, he couldn't do much about the Croatian's technical prowess, speed, and power. Cro Cop's fight against Magomedov at Pride Critical Countdown in 2005 ended within a round, with Mirko using his leg and body kicks and an occasional straight left blow to frustrate his opponent, who missed on a number of wild right hands. 3 minutes into their fight, Cro Cop dazed Magomedov with a head kick that didn't land properly. The Russian went into panic mode and started swinging wildly to try and earn a Hail Mary knockout. Cro Cop was in no rush and patiently waited for his opportunity, which came at 3 minutes and 53 seconds of the first round, when Cro Cop landed a hard kick to Magomedov's liver. Now, Magomedov's facial expression changed within a second and he crashed onto the canvas, begging Cro Cop for mercy.
Oh, and Mirko Cro Cop's in the fight again, going with
he's got a liver kick!
Bas Rutten versus Jason DeLucia. Back in his prime, Bas Rutten was one of the scariest guys in combat sports, and he is widely regarded as one of the GOATs of the game even today. The reason is his highly volatile fighting style, which he displayed in Pancrase. Now, Pancrase wasn't your typical MMA promotion and was known for its unique concepts, whereby fighters were allowed to wear professional wrestling attire and could grapple and wrestle as they wished, but striking options were limited. For example, since fighters didn't wear gloves, they were not allowed to punch their opponents in the head. Not even head kicks were allowed, so fighters had to rely mainly on submissions and body shots to end fights. When Rootin faced Jason DeLucia at Pancrase Truth 6, he absolutely destroyed his opponent's liver with multiple punches and kicks to the body. And in the other MMA promotion, DeLucia would have been put out of his misery the first time he got hit with a liver shot and folded. But Pancrase's 10-count rule for knockouts meant that he had to endure a lot of punishment. Rootin dropped DeLucia with at least 5 liver shots, but he wouldn't easily give up. The end result? He ruptured his liver.
Bang, bang, and that's
Jose Aldo versus Jeremy Stephens. Jose Aldo's body shot against Jeremy Stephens literally puts Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa to shame. It was a literal work of art. At UFC Fight Night in 2018, Aldo bounced back into winning ways in the most spectacular fashion against Jeremy Stephens. The two opened the bout, finding their range, trading low kicks and jabs. Stephens, being the more aggressive of the two fighters, pressed the featherweight GOAT who countered. Moments later, Aldo put his foot on the gas and landed big blows on Stephens, who responded with some great enthusiasm. Soon after, a wild brawl ensued and Aldo started walking Stephens down. At 4 minutes and 19 seconds of the first round, Aldo ripped a painful left hook to Stephens' midsection, and the American crumpled onto the mat immediately. The King of Rio added insult to injury with more punches to his face until the referee jumped in and pushed him away. And with that, we have come to the end of our video on the most shocking liver shot knockouts in mixed martial arts history. Did we miss any? Let us know in the comments section below. And if you like this video, please show us some love by subscribing and turning on your notifications, so we keep bringing you videos like the one that you just watched. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.